Chapter 1. As I write these lines, they are still my memories. But the last phrase that concludes my story will become my epitaph. The world. Familiar. Familiar. But at the same time mysterious and unusual, has ceased to be the same. And what did I know about the world as a whole? For me, it was always limited to a small one-room apartment in one of the left bank micro-districts of Omsk, rare trips to my parents in Novosibirsk, and sometimes I went to Tyumen on business. That's all. Studies? Yes, I studied, like everyone else, at school. Then I served in the army and got a job in the police with the rank of senior sergeant. At first, I managed to stick myself in the duty unit of the Left Bank Internal Affairs Directorate for the Kirov district. Everything is like everyone else. My dad liked to repeat about this. The theater begins with the coat rack, and service in the police with the duty department. However, I have nothing to say about myself. My name is Valentin. I am 23 years old, and I have my whole life ahead of me. I want to tell you about how quickly the world that humanity believed in, the world as people usually understand it, has changed. The bulk of our globe has gone crazy, simultaneously driving people's minds crazy. The shift was normal, you could say, routine. As always, I sat at the control panel and took calls. A fight? On October's 70th anniversary? I see, challenge accepted. Don't interfere there, the officers will come and sort it out. I hang up the phone and there's still a call going on. I didn't notice how the cigarette burned out and fell onto the table. Tolian, listen. Do we have anyone on duty for 70 years? Contact them. Let them go to the festival. There are some brats beating up a guy behind the building. Having finished with the first, I answer the second. An old woman's voice, and one that brooked no argument, told me that my old husband had gone on a drinking binge and it was time to rein him in. Oh, what a madhouse. However, I was convinced of the presence of a madhouse in the minds of our city flock almost immediately after taking up my service. I always suspected that people were prone to madness, but I only learned its inevitability and scope during my service. One would kill another, and then bleat like a ram, snot and urine, and could not explain why. Most had one prepared answer and immediately followed by a question. I was drunk, I don't remember shit. Listen, Commander, what's in store for me, huh? Tolian, a.k.a. Anatoly Sarasov, nudges me in the elbow. Valak, what are you thinking about? Would you like some coffee? Coffee is salvation on duty. Coffee and cigarettes. Otherwise, you could go crazy. Previously, a major of a little over 40 years old served in the department, also on duty. I actually took his place. So he saved his head from madness with crosswords. He would sit down, like Yakubovich. By the way, he even had a nickname like that. And decide, wince in his glasses and scribble with a pencil. He was once an operative, wounded and awarded several times, and then something did not work out with the authorities. So they sent him to our duty room. Police officers of various ranks and qualifications began and ended their careers here. Yeah, listen. Pour me half a cup. Tolya. You don't have a cigarette? I've already lit a pack. It's a bit early. There's still half an hour until lunch. Yes, I grabbed half a pack this morning. I thought that would be enough. I take a cigarette from the extended pack. Are you going to lunch? Is Hassan's car okay? Tolian shrugs his shoulders in bewilderment, making it clear that he doesn't know. Okay. If anything happens, I'll cross the street to the nearest Chebarechnaya, grab a bite to eat, and then go back to the duty room. 24-hour shift. I accepted another call. I sent a squad to the address. I sipped my coffee and lit another cigarette. The morning was somehow sad. Probably because it was autumn. Or maybe I was starting to get sick. I felt depression creeping up on me. Maybe I was just tired. It was still a month. Hey, Tolian? Remember that idiot who killed my brother? Tolian put his cup of coffee on the table. Who didn't share the woman? Yes, the one who was roaring like a beluga whale and promised to hang himself. My partner didn't like something in my voice. Listen, Valak, don't get hung up on this topic. I know from my own experience. Don't force all this into yourself. You'll go nuts. Okay, let's forget about it. Are you going to lunch? No, I'll stay. When you come back, then I'll go. Surprisingly, the 50-year-old duty driver Hassan, either a Dagestani or a Chechen, managed to get the car started. The ignition had been acting up since the morning, and the duty driver without a car was like a womanizer without a penis. Hassan, turn on the radio. What's going on in the world? The elderly Caucasian turned up the volume on the radio and turned down the volume on the external radio. They've been broadcasting some nonsense since morning. I've been listening. Have you received any orders there in the duty room? I've been fiddling with the car all morning. I don't think so, but what's there? I turned up the volume on the built-in receiver and started listening. The airwaves were cluttered with interference. The local radio station was clearly in some kind of chaos, and I had left my phone in the duty room as luck would have it. In vain. The internet connection was weak in the room itself, but now I could use it outside the duty room. I needed to pull myself together. I had become such a wimp. Kachi, what is she babbling about? I don't understand. He began to listen. I yeet tortenum. Major cities were attacked all over the territory. The announcer's voice broke into tears, but she tried to pull herself together. All over the world. At the moment we have information about the destruction of Kyiv, Moscow, Vladivostok. Then it is unclear. Again, there is interference. Barnaul. It is unknown who carried out the attack. There is no connection with the central government apparatus and the media. This is some kind of bullshit, huh, Valak? Listen, Hassanik, I don't understand it myself. Let's go back to the duty room. Let's have lunch. Wait, maybe this is some kind of prank? We'll see. Come on, give me a ride back, then go and have lunch yourself. 15 minutes later, we drove up to the duty station. I felt my ID and pass in my breast pocket. But the entire duty station, the chief, Tolian, the internal detail, were all standing on the porch and peering into their cell phones. Valak, did you hear? Solkrum. Tolian ran up and stuttered, started mumbling something and shoving the phone screen in my face. The war has begun. I was dumbfounded. With whom? Who the hell knows with whom, they won't say. They're talking complete nonsense. And where did Hassan go? I turned around and saw Hassan in the official UAZ making a U-turn and driving at high speed past the unlowered barrier. By the way, we never saw either the Highlander or the car again. I don't know. Tolian, can someone explain to me what's going on? In detail, without shouting. And why the hell isn't there internet in the duty room again? 100 meters from the duty station, there was an old, shabby 2-story building of the temporary detention facility for 30 people. Despite the possibility of ensuring internal order and constant supervision of the arrested, some smart guy from the inspection came up with the idea to order the installation of a more powerful signal jammer in the building. The power of this contraption was enough to muffle cellular communications, in particular the H+ and 4G signals, not only in the temporary detention facility itself, but also in the nearby duty station and in 3 5-story buildings nearby. After the residents realized the futility of complaints and threats from the prosecutor's office, they quickly got out of it. They chipped in and installed amplifiers. And no, one thought about the duty station. Do you have a connection? Does the control panel work? Well, what else do you need? And that's the whole story. 10 minutes later, an old TV set was taken out of the utility room and placed on the table, and an extension cord was extended. The old plug just wouldn't fit into the socket of the new computer adapter. Everyone who was on duty crowded around the TV set, except for one detained alcoholic who had been out drinking all night and was wandering around the streets. Why they brought him in is a question. The guy was going home. Well, yes, he was drunk, but he wasn't going crazy and was heading straight home. But nevertheless, the PPS officers decided to earn a stick for themselves. The drunkard first slept sitting up, then woke up, and when he noticed some commotion in the duty room, he began to show activity. Chief, listen, Chief. What happened? I'm thirsty. Be human. Give me something to drink. Another senior sergeant from the interior detail stood behind me, showing no emotion. I turned around. Kolya. Take him to the toilet, let him have a drink. Tell him not to whine. Or better yet, let him write an explanatory note and get lost. Then let him pay the fine according to the protocol. Kolya and Kudanov simply nodded briefly and headed deeper into the duty room towards the monkey house. The head of the duty unit, Captain Karatanov, a cockroach in common parlance, was the last to appear, carrying the TV remote control. Okay, everyone shut up. The most amazing thing is that the drunk, released to the toilet, a few minutes later stood behind the entire duty detail for that shift and stupidly stared at the TV screen. No one paid any attention to the drunkard. A completely unprecedented attack on major cities around the world. Millions of dead ruins. Regional authorities have declared a state of emergency. The cockroach frowned. What the hell is this? Tolyan took out a cigarette. Boss, maybe this is some kind of bullshit? A prank? The captain growled, "Stop it!" and immediately switched the channel, but all the channels showed the same thing. Footage of destroyed cities, apparently filmed from helicopters, fires, lines of cars on the roads, fights, brawls, some rallies and demonstrations of no one knows who and no one knows why. On one of the channels, a respectable, plump, elderly professor in a sweater, with a short haircut and a gray beard, was talking nonsense in a calm, mentoring tone. It is obvious that our planet has experienced an attack by an unknown extraterrestrial civilization, aggressive and alien to our understanding. The destruction of large cities and infrastructure has made it clear to us that the aliens' goal is not to negotiate contact or some kind of exchange, but to intimidate us. When asked by the presenter about the reaction of countries and governments, the old man said, "I can't answer for sure, but I'm sure that the armed forces are on full combat alert. All we can do is wait." What was demonstrated next was completely beyond comprehension. On one of the entertainment TV channels, the central television was full of white noise. Some Duma-punk from the government, who the hell knows how all of them had gathered in. Valdi 3 days ago was speaking. In the background of the speaking punk, some people in jackets were running around, giving orders, waving their arms. 2 riot police were separating someone. Not a single state has taken responsibility for the barbaric attack. We have information that large cities in all countries of the world have suffered. We will not allow anarchy with all our might. Suddenly the image shook. Apparently the camera fell out of the operator's hands. The last thing it transmitted was someone's boot, smashing the lens. Something serious was brewing, and all of this would need to be responded to somehow. "What do you say, Comrade Captain?" Tolyan turned to the chief of the duty unit, but he was apparently in a state of shock. First he turned red as a tomato, then he began to turn white and gasp for air, frantically unbuttoning the collar of his uniform shirt. The entire duty team looked at the captain, even the detained drunkard. Everyone was waiting for something and got it. The captain came to his senses, his eyes widened, and he yelled, "Okay, everyone stay where you are. I'm heading to the office, and Kudinov, Mamedov with me. Sokolov is in charge." Sokolov, that means me in charge. Waited for a promotion. Smart boss. Took 2 from the internal detail, and they, by the way, are armed with AK-74M machine guns. He's protecting his own ass. I immediately understood what was going on. It somehow dawned on me later, as it turns out. I sat down at the table and turned up the TV. In the rush of my escape, the boss thrust the remote control into my hands, thus symbolizing that I was now in charge. "Tolyan, go to the duty station and take calls. I feel like all hell is about to break out. Everyone else back to your places. Where is Savlayev? Has he gone to the monkey house? Tell him to come back." A minute later, Arkady Savelyev, a senior lieutenant, came up to the table. I stood up. "Listen, Antonik. Cockroach ran off somewhere. Said he was going to the department. I think he was out of his mind. He appointed me as the senior officer, but you're the only officer left, you know." Antonich grinned. "I understand. What's unclear here? I heard everything. I went to take a piss. What are we going to do?" Antonich grinned again. "What else can we do? We'll serve. In short, Valak, let's take care of the outer perimeter. Where's Hassan?" Hassan left. He drove me home from lunch, then quickly turned around and left. "The radio isn't responding." Antonik whistled. "I see. So there is no transport. Then remove Tolya from the control room and go to the territory. Prevent any external penetrations. I give permission to not stand on ceremony." "Is this an order?" "Valak, do you need a written order? I have a feeling that soon everyone will be indifferent to everything. But while we are here and while we are in uniform, we will protect the facility entrusted to us. The property and law and order in the territory entrusted to us. I will sit at the control panel myself. The phone is already ringing off the hook. In short, that's it. No time. We'll chat later. And who is this? Antonik pointed his finger at the drunkard who had been thrown out of the cell in the monkey house. At that moment, the man was standing in the corridor like a lost soul, waiting for something. This is a detainee. I ordered him to be released. Let him roll. Did they confiscate any things? Suddenly, the man tore himself away from the wall and confidently walked towards us. Chiefs, I'm staying. I heard everything perfectly. Antonik first looked at me, and then we looked at the man together. Listen, friend. Go home, okay? I don't have time for you now. The man doesn't calm down. Chiefs, I left the army 2 years ago. I served as an instructor at the training ground in Svetli. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. The paratroopers? The man straightened up and calmly, slightly condescendingly, replied, Yes, sir. And who is the commander of the second company? I decided to ask this question to check this strange guy offering help. Arsen Gamalian, nicknamed Gamadrias. Exactly so. I am telling this to the senior lieutenant. Now let him make the decision. Okay, you are at the disposal of... Here it is. The senior lieutenant points his finger at me. Now, it's my turn to act. Follow me. On the way, we pick up Tolian from the control room. He looks at me and the guy in surprise. Listen, man, what's your name? Andrei Petrovich. You can just call me Petrovich. Senior warrant officer. I see. This is Tolian. My name is Valentin. We need to secure the perimeter. And this, Petrovich, if you decide to run away, I'm not going to hold you, but at least warn you. Don't worry, boss. There are no plans to leave. My whole family is in Novosibirsk now. Petrovich's gaze began to glaze over. Tolian said in bewilderment, And what? Petrovich turned to him and raised his eyes, which had turned gray in an instant. Didn't you hear on TV? Novosibirsk was also attacked. Tolian rubbed his temples. This all sounds like nonsense. Who attacked? We'll find out. That's it. Stop talking. Follow me. My parents lived in Novosibirsk. Well, not in Novosibirsk itself, but 15 kilometers from the city in a dacha cooperative. They sold their apartment, bought a house, and lived quietly. I visited them sometimes, and sometimes they came to visit me. It was scary to think about it. While we were watching TV, I tried to call my mother, but her number did not answer. I wrote to her in a messenger, but there was no answer either. In principle, my dad is there, and he is a crowbar-belted man, fought in Afghanistan, and in general a lively and strong man over 50. I think everything will be fine. I tried to drive away these thoughts. We will figure everything out, put things in order if necessary, and then we will deal with personal matters. And what should I do now? Fly to Novosibirsk on wings? The distance is 640 kilometers. Here Tolian, a good man, of course, knows what to say. Valak, bro, aren't yours in Novosib too? He is silent, waiting for me to answer. They're in the suburbs, 15 kilometers away. I'll go straight away when my shift ends. Where are yours? I don't have anyone, remember? Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, enough about that. I point at Petrovich with my gaze. Tolian nods his head understandingly. As for our duty room, which all the local alcoholics, hooligans, and other elements dubbed Chapayevskaya, its location in the given circumstances can be called advantageous. A one-story brick building with a fenced entrance, a chain-link fence, and a barrier. Among the personnel, our duty room was often called the Pentagon. The only thing missing was watchtowers along the perimeter. There was another specific reason for this name. The perimeter was a pentagon, a square with a triangular side. In the backyard with a small parking lot for 3 cars, there used to be a flower bed. More precisely, the flower bed remained, but there were no flowers in it. Since when? I don't know. When I took up service, the flower bed was fenced with a wedge of fencing panels with chain link, and then the fence went along the square perimeter. I decided to put Tolya on this flower bed, and he has his service weapon with him, if anything. I'll take up a post at the barrier myself, and I'll order Petrovich to patrol the perimeter of the fence. Then I'll rather ask, although the guy clearly wants to be useful and wants to get distracted. What I would feel in his place, I don't know. Now, my situation is a little better. All my relatives live in the suburbs, and his relatives lived right in the city itself, as I understand it. Let's have a smoke, guys, and then we'll go to the dots. Keep your eyes peeled. I suspect that Hassan and Tarakan won't be back today. You don't have to be a fortune teller. Tolyan spits and hands me and Petrovich cigarettes. Petrovich waves his hand and takes his pack out of his jacket. I take a couple from Tolyan just in case. Petrovich clears his throat. Your shift ends at 9 in the morning tomorrow? I nod. Guys, things are going badly. I'm with you until the end of the shift. Afterwards, I'll make my way to Svetli. The unit commander is my bosom buddy. To him, basically. Are you with me? Tolyan throws away his cigarette butt. Why did you retire if the unit commander is a close friend? Petrovich chuckled, grinned, and expressively slapped his Adam's apple with his palm. Went into a tailspin. Okay, enough talking. The shift will end, then we'll talk. Let's go to our places. Petrovich also finished smoking but carefully threw the butt into the trash can by the fence, where an unofficial smoking area had been set up. Do you hear? Tolyan and I fell silent and began to listen, looking now at the fence at the nearby 5-story buildings, now at Petrovich, who was expectantly raising his finger. Somewhere behind the buildings where the central street ran, the hum was growing. The alarm began to howl like a pulsating siren, and the cries of people could be heard in the distance. But all this still did not form the overall picture of what had happened. The first half hour passed relatively calmly, although I personally couldn't shake the feeling that some shit was about to happen. Suddenly, Petrovich appeared again. Here. I ran into the duty room. Took it from your senior. The guy, who was already becoming a good friend, handed me a portable radio scanner and attached his own with a clothespin to the lapel of his jacket. I've already tuned it to the frequency. If anything, contact. Holy shit, how come I didn't figure it out myself? He's a good man, and his gait is somehow squat, stingy. He's about to start bending over from bullets. Apparently he's been tossed around by life. I'll have to figure it all out later. The decision to go to Svetli after my shift was looming somewhere in my head. But what about my parents? I need to get to Novosibirsk if things really were getting really bad. Okay, let's wait. Maybe they'll still respond. I take out my phone and quickly dial again. Mommy, what's going on there? Where are you? Why aren't you answering? As I was putting the phone in my pocket, I felt a pang under my heart. The thought that I would never see my mother and father again began to take root in my head. My legs weakened. That's it. Enough about this. I shake my head. Oddly enough, no one approached the duty station. Evening was approaching. It was getting dark. The screams behind the houses grew louder and then stopped. But the car alarms did not stop, replacing each other with various beepers, buzzers, drawn-out signals, sometimes merging into a single cacophony. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, but clearly from above, under the measured, sometimes thickening, sometimes weakening, beating air, noise of helicopter blades, a voice was heard, amplified by a megaphone. Attention civilians! The citywide warning system is in effect. A curfew is declared in the city. Everyone must leave the city streets by 10 p.m., clear the city streets, return home. Violators of the curfew will be arrested. All representatives of law enforcement agencies and structures must remain at their locations, serve according to the staffing schedule until further notice from their units. That really freaked me out, but the next thing freaked me out even more. I clearly saw a helicopter flying about a kilometer above the city blocks, and suddenly a burst of sparkling dotted lines came from the ground toward the helicopter. The crackle of gunfire, although muffled, was still audible. Ta-ta-ta. They were working with a Kalashnikov. The helicopter almost immediately veered to the side and then went into a reverse turn. I imagined the pilot feeling the bullets hitting the bottom with his ass. Now that was complete crap. Well, maybe not complete, but the symptoms were obvious. Although a curfew had been declared in the city, and some daredevil was shooting at a helicopter with a machine gun. Still, that was complete crap, no matter how you look at it. I swallowed nervously, squeezing my belt holster with my palm. Petrovich crept up silently and put his hand on my shoulder. Your mother, Petrovich. You almost gave me a heart attack just now. Quiet, don't shout. Petrovich hissed abruptly and prickly in a whisper. Did you see? Saw. How long have we been patrolling? 3 hours? Are you aware that your Antonik has gone somewhere? There's no one in the duty room. The armory has also been roused by someone. Oh, come on. I'm not going to give a damn. I just came from there. The armory was opened. Nothing. And I don't think you had anything there. This isn't the SKVO, North Caucasus Military District. And where is Tolian? I don't know. I was patrolling the perimeter according to my schedule, and he was guarding the parking lot in the flower bed. Forgot? Exactly. So he's not there. I intuitively run to the duty room, and again hear Petrovich's whisper from behind. Wait, what are you doing there? Where on the perimeter is the light turned off? I look around. The automatic relays have worked. 3 lights illuminating the checkpoint, a small parking lot, and the barrier have started to gain strength. I turn around. I have no idea. Petrovich picked up a small stone from the asphalt near the fence and with a well-aimed throw smashed one of the lanterns. A minute later, another. The third one took a bit of work, but the 2 of them eventually smashed the third one. The sound of the smashing lamps really seemed like thunder to me. Do you hear? Petrovich addressed me, not in a whisper, but barely audibly, and put his finger to his lips. I stepped back closer to him into the shadow of the building. Near the chain-link fence on the right side, there was some kind of movement. They could be cutting the wire, but they could also be climbing on it. It was unclear. Do you have your weapon with you? I put my hand on the holster and unholstered it. Let's wait until they climb onto the perimeter. Behind me, along the wall. Petrovich went first, his legs half bent, pressing himself against the wall. We had to go around the duty building from left to right, and the noise was coming from the right side. Suddenly the rattling became more intense, as if someone had grabbed the wire mesh and started shaking it. We crept around the building and came out on the left, to the side of possible violators. Petrovich first started making some signs with his hands without turning around, but then he cursed barely in a whisper and turned to me. Take a position around the corner. You'll cover them. I nod my head in real shock and slowly, trying not to make noise, I pull out the PM and holsters, squeeze the pistol between my legs, squeeze to muffle the sound of reloading and switching to the combat position. I can barely breathe, afraid to make noise. Petrovich, who had not ceased to amaze today, whistled long but muffled from the shadows. The movement at the fence ceased, and a whisper was heard among which whore and cops could clearly be distinguished. Petrovich decided to go for broke, and I squeezed the pistol and pointed it at the whisper. Chapter 2. The first reports were given on TV, radio, and the internet, particularly on YouTube. At night, in the morning, everyone was already talking about it. As for me, oddly enough, I woke up at 8 a.m. and heard nothing. I didn't have the habit of looking through social networks as soon as I woke up. I didn't watch TV at all. Well, sometimes in the evening I like to find a movie and watch it over a bottle of beer, but I wasn't used to monitoring the news or any moments on social networks. It seems that no one in our duty room watched the news in the morning, and the chaos that broke out in the evening was still in its early stages in the morning. In principle, now they will tell you that yesterday large cities in Russia, and in general all over the world, were demolished by nuclear fire. Who did it and why is unknown. So what? Any ordinary person will first be shocked, then frown and say to himself in a booming affirmative voice, "Bullshit." Then sit, scratch his head and start calling friends. Go on. Social networks, and after a more or less objective picture emerges, go outside. What I would definitely not advise is to climb onto the street. There was already a whole crowd of those more or less folded there, an ocean of people. Omsk is a city of 1 million, but 1 million residents are evenly spread across the residential areas, neighborhoods, suburban Rozovka, Ruslanovka, Luzino, and Marianovka. That's one thing. But a stunned, uncomprehending crowd of people pouring out onto the street in a stream. That's another. The Kirov administrative district is more or less the same. The residential areas are simple people, but mostly kind-hearted. And what about Neftianiki, Port Arthur, or, say, Televizionka? No. Good people. Law-abiding citizens. They live there too. A lot of them. But take my word for it. Taxi drivers don't go to those areas at night, and if they do, they ask for double the price. Near the dental medical clinic on Zeleny Boulevard, everything was happening as usual that morning. The janitor, an inconspicuous Tajik in a blue robe, was sweeping the sidewalk, humming something under his breath. Another month and the puddles would start to crust over, and then it would snow. there would be more work. Occasionally, the janitor would glance sideways at 3 guys smoking in the arch between 2 5-story buildings, but the guys were not paying any attention to him yet. "Hi, Semyon. How are you?" One of the guys turned to the 4th, who had just arrived. "Have you watched the news? Honestly, I'm in shock. Why are you out so early?" Sema, a plump, even flabby guy in a short leather jacket and blue jeans, shook everyone's hands in turn. "This is all bullshit." Suddenly, one of the guys moved away from the arched wall. The biggest one with a shaved head, wearing a slightly puffy black bomber jacket over a tank top. At first, he simply watched everything from the side and frowned arrogantly, but then he decided to intervene in the conversation. "This is not bullshit. My mother has been on the phone all night. She got through to her aunt in the Moscow region." "So what?" "Fuck. It's fucked for everyone there. A mushroom cloud over the city." Sema raised his whitish eyebrows in surprise, which pulled his chewed cheeks along with them. "What mushroom?" 3 guys burst out laughing, and the biggest one, wearing a bomber jacket and nicknamed Chipa, waved his hand. "Okay, don't worry about it. Where are you going?" "I want to go to the 24-hour shop for beer. My mother left for work at the plant, so instead of having a fazanka, FCO, I decided to relax a bit." "No, guys, what kind of mushroom is that?" Chipa bristled, feeling the unspoken support of his cronies. "Are you stupid or something? I told you. Don't bother. Listen, wait with the beer. We have an idea." Sema began to be a little afraid of Chip because of his voice and harshness, but for the sake of solidity, he asked in a bass voice, "Which?" The guys slightly surrounded Semyon and began to explain to him that soon no one would give a damn about anything, and before it was too late they needed to grab everything that was lying around, but for that they needed guns and fast. "You were chatting that you had a gun at home, Semyon?" Semyon shook and began to bleat. "No, not me. It's Tanyuka from the vocational school. She's studying to be a hairdresser. Her father is a hunter. She definitely has one." Semyon, puzzled and apologetic, spread his arms, which caught Chipa's eye. "Okay, why did you reveal yourself? Do you know where your Tanyuka lives?" "Of course. I'll show you." As luck would have it, at that moment the 4 guys heard the sound of a broom scraping along the asphalt. A janitor in a blue robe appeared in the gap in the arch, sweeping the asphalt as if nothing had happened. But as soon as he looked at the guys, "Hey, you bastard. What are you?" "Watching?" The janitor continued sweeping. "Are you deaf or something?" The janitor did not respond. "Yes, Chipa, he doesn't respect you at all." The guys giggled, especially Sema, venting his forced fear of the leader with laughter. "Shut up, everyone. Hey, you bitch." Chipa jumped up to the janitor in 3 leaps and kicked the shovel away from him, almost immediately delivering a boxing punch to the jaw. The janitor jumped over the curb and fell into a puddle, covering his head with his hands, trying to pull his legs up to his stomach. "Guys, what did I do to you?" The janitor's accent enraged the attackers even more. They deftly jumped over the curb and began kicking the poor guy. They would have beaten him to death if they had not been stopped by a menacing shout from a police UAZ that appeared out of nowhere. "Hey, fuck, stop it! Stop, I said!" The policeman belatedly turned on the horn, which sounded inappropriately with its tak-tak-tak. "Get away from him!" The policeman did not move from his place. He stood chest deep in the UAZ door. Chipa and everyone else moved away from the janitor, who was slowly coming to his senses, trying to roll over onto his stomach and stand up. Chipa looked around. There was no one nearby. Only a couple was walking down the street, but seeing what was happening, they turned around and went back. "Are you out of your mind, trash? This faggot raped my sister, do you hear? We spent a week trying to get him out." Chipa glared at his accomplices, and they began nodding their heads and shouting in unison. The policeman growled, "I'm not interested in these details." Chipa climbed over the curb and headed towards the policeman, and everyone else followed him. "Listen, Captain." Chipa noticed a vertical stripe and 4 stars on the shoulder. "Strap. Let's talk. Do you know what happened?" "Stay put. Don't fuck with my head. Stop, I said." The officer took out his service weapon and pointed it first at Chipa, then at Sema. But then something unexpected happened. The moment when the newly minted bandits came too close was missed. Chipa grabbed a skinny 14-year-old boy nicknamed Bitch because of his last name Suchkov, pulled him to himself, shielded himself, and then pushed him hard towards the policeman. A shot rang out, but Chippa immediately jumped out from behind Bitch's body and hit the policeman on the arm with all his might. The pistol fell out. Bitch squeaked and exhaled indistinctly and fell, bleeding. Soon he gave up his soul to God, along with the policeman, from whose throat a butterfly was sticking out. And where is that son of a bitch? Chippa was breathing heavily and looking for the beaten janitor. Semyon and the second guy, Kostyan, began to look around. They no longer cared about Bitch and the dead cop. There he is, running, about 30 meters from the scene of the incident. Limping heavily, sometimes holding onto the wall of the facade of a 5-story building, a beaten janitor tried to escape. Ah, I see. There was something bloodthirsty in Chippa's voice. He raised his pistol, took aim, and fired. He missed. He fired again. The janitor continued to run. Oh, well, screw it, wasting more bullets on this piece. Okay, go on. Tell me where your Tanya lives. Is she pretty? Kostya, a.k.a. Alexander Kostin, aged 18, was quickly searching the pockets of the policeman, and then of Suchka. Sama was trying to take the uniform jacket off the dead policeman. The cap was already on his head at an angle, ill-fitting. What, are you trying to play cop? Chippa pointed the gun at the fat moron. No, Chip, what's wrong? I just did it for fun. I'll tell you now, she's nearby. Something similar began to grow throughout the city. The message about the fall of the previous world was broadcast at night, and then various channels with different time intervals broadcast practically the same thing. This information affected people in different ways. Someone opened the refrigerator in search of a bottle, cursing the government in every way. Someone, mainly women over 40, anxiously sobbed and waited for something intelligible from their husbands, who themselves did not understand anything, and someone was going to, or was already smashing shop windows, breaking into bank branches, expensive stores, and luxury apartments. And, for some reason, everyone who decided to profit suddenly thought it was entirely possible to rob, rape, kill. After all, nothing would happen for it. The old government had collapsed or was about to collapse, and the new one had not yet arrived. And when would it be? By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, everything was buzzing, screaming, groaning, and shouting under the weight of the impunity that had fallen upon them. The city authorities tried not to let go of the reins of power. The mayor's office and the administration, having convinced themselves of the veracity of the latest news, almost immediately went into a state of siege. Security was stepped up. The riot police were raised on alert, and almost all the patrol and guard patrols in the area were pulled together. In essence, the mayor and other authorities didn't give a damn about anything. It was important to ensure their safety and get out of the city as quickly as possible. Where to? This was a serious question. At a short meeting, a decision was made to take their families and all their assets, gather in the city hall building. Patrols were sent out especially for this purpose around the city, and then in an organized column to move to the border with Kazakhstan, and from there, if possible, to China, through Kazakhstan, and there. And what would happen there? No one could really answer, but everyone somehow gave in to this idea. The governor and the mayor sat in a locked office and drank vodka. At the same time, the governor tried to remain respectable. Look, so what really happened, you know? The mayor took a sip of vodka straight from the bottle and immediately pulled a hefty piece of smoked sausage from the plate. I called my friend in Astana. Everything seemed to be quiet there. No one was bombed. But there were reports on all state and private media. And what do we have? Listen, Vasilich, haven't you watched the news? They're saying that this is an attack from the outside, you understand? From the outside. Americans or something? The mayor respected the governor, groveled before him, but at the same time always considered him a dumb pig. He himself was aiming for his place. Washington is in ruins. What Americans? Mother of them. Well, who? Aliens or something? Yes, the governor chuckled. Go away. Okay, Vasilich, let's get to Kazakhstan, and then we'll be left wondering who and what. How are your people? They won't let me down. I promised each of them 5 million, but on the other side. Fine. Some people, following their own convictions and sense of rightness, were drawn to the Assumption Cathedral in the Cossack Church. The parishioners were not turned away. Kind-hearted old women, regular parishioners, scurried among the people. Women held children in their arms and near them, Men huddled close to each other, huddled together, not letting go of their wives with their eyes. When the rector appeared, everyone fell to their knees without saying a word. Crying was heard, growing into howling and wailing. The priest ascended the pulpit, crossed himself, and proclaimed in a loud voice. Then I heard a loud voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, "Go and pour out the 7 bowls of the wrath of God on the earth." The first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth. And there came a grievous and disgusting sore on the people who had the mark of the beast, and on them who worshipped his image. The second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it became blood as of a dead man, and every living creature died in the sea. The third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and it became blood. And then he roared loudly, "Repent, Orthodox people! Repent, for the last times are coming!" And at that very moment, just 100 meters from the Assumption Cathedral, towering over Cathedral Square like a bluish tinsel mass, 5 criminals of different ages were throwing a noose around the neck of a worker who had the misfortune of taking a shortcut home through the courtyards. The worker wanted to get home from his night shift as soon as possible, to take his family and go as far away as possible. The end of the car tow rope just wouldn't go over a thick tree branch in the front garden. The rope either fell back or didn't reach the branch. The boss of the criminals, an elderly, thin, grinning, shaggy wolf, called the young man throwing the rope a faggot or a rooster and laughed loudly. His laughter was echoed by the others, smoking cigarettes and drinking expensive cognac from a recently ransacked store. The saleswoman and the morning loader had decided to protest, but now their bodies could be seen nearby. The saleswoman, naked and bloody, was lying right on the threshold of the store, and the loader with a broken head and his pants down in the utility room. The worker who was about to be hanged stood silently at first, not believing everything that was happening, but suddenly fell to his knees and screamed shrilly, "Don't kill me, guys! Don't kill me! Here, I'll give you everything!" A short worker from the factory, about 40 years old with a thin, wheat-colored mustache, threw a phone, some bills, and change out of his pocket, scattering them across the sand. "I'll give you everything, just don't kill me." The boss stopped laughing and looked with interest at the man begging for mercy on his knees. The noose, clumsily woven, went down to his chest. The man began to take it off himself, sensing the confusion of the boss and the guy throwing the end. "Don't kill, you say?" The boss got up from the concrete curb and shook his skinny ass in sweatpants, waving to his stooges to cool down a bit. Yes, don't kill." The victim's jaw trembled nervously. Drool ran down his chin. "And I'll do whatever you want," the boss thought again with a slight condescending smile. "Whatever you want, you say?" Yes. "Okay, guys, shall we believe him?" The 6s looked at the boss with bewilderment and did not understand what he was getting at. And the boss leaned towards the man with the wheat-colored mustache and lifted his face by the chin. "You see, son, there is one guy who is like a bone in our throats. Now let's all go together and solve the problem? Or rather, you will solve it for us, huh?" Hope flashed in the man's eyes, which was instantly replaced by fear, but he really wanted to live. Yes, I'll do everything, monsieur." Her hands were shaking. Her voice was breaking into a squeal. "That's great. And now forgive me. You're our snoop now." The 6s unzipped their flies, and the boss pulled his sweatpants down below his skinny, pimply buttocks, and everyone simultaneously began to urinate on the frightened and morally crushed man. He didn't even try to look away or stop the whole execution. Chipa lay naked to the waist on the fold-out sofa and smoked towards the ceiling. "So where is the gun, Semyon?" Chipa blew 2 smoke rings towards the chandelier and quickly sat up. "Chipa, I'll fucking say it. Well, she said her father was a hunter. What am I guilty of? I didn't say I saw it myself. It's me, the head from Fuflomitsin. Okay, go push Kostya, stop swelling, collect what there is to eat from the refrigerator. It's time to go. We had a great time. And where do these?" Sema pointed his finger at 2 bodies lying on the floor. One belonged to 16-year-old Tatiana, and the other to her 40-year-old mother. Sema's gaze lingered on the young girl's bare chest. "Eat wherever you want, if you feel like eating." "Chipa, what's wrong?" "Okay, don't drill. Throw it out the window." "From the 5th floor?" Chipa simply stood up and went into the kitchen, stepped over the body of a strong, stocky 40-year-old man in the hallway by the entrance. Fuck. He should have asked about the gun first and then put it out. Okay, I'll take a look. Maybe he's got a safe hidden somewhere. Although now everyone's shit themselves, you can break into some bookmaker's office with just a pistol, then take a car, and get the hell out of there. At that time, neither Chipa, nor Sema, nor their third accomplice, Kostya, knew that in a few hours they would run into even tougher guys, Chechens from the security of a bookmaker's office in the city center. The Chechens did not stand on ceremony, but simply shot all three of them point blank, and then cut off the head of the still living, dying Chipa, who began to scream and wave a pistol in the face of the administrator who had shit. No one told Chipa that the bookmaker's office with the colorful name Money for 100 Grams had become the unofficial headquarters of all Omsk Chechens who were deciding where to go, what to do, and how to survive in the new conditions. Chapter 3. The alarm clock rang loudly, creating a cacophony of sounds and a hurricane of images in my sleeping mind. In a matter of seconds, a swarm of images flashed by, from an Amazon waterfall to an old woman beating her head with a cane, and against all this, the insistent sound of "Get up, get up, get up" sounded. The first thing I did was reach for the alarm clock and press the button, falling asleep again, but the obsessive ringing did not stop. "Your mother?" "It's a phone." I reached out, took the mobile from the chair by the bed, and on the edge of consciousness and sleep, pressed the sensor. "Hello? Who?" The voice on the other end knocked the last remnants of sleep out of his ear. My God, 4:30 in the morning. Monday. More sleep and sleep. Vasya, great. Are you sleeping? Vasya, wake up, damn it. The voice on the phone began to break into a scream. Okay, I'm awake. Did you recognize him? Yes. What's the matter? The head of the aviation school called, where I, that is Vasily Georgievich, 42 years old, unmarried, held the position of flight instructor for Mi-6 pilots. So, haven't you watched TV? There was a government announcement. It's being broadcast on all channels. The war has begun. Sleep has disappeared completely. What? What the hell war? Who the hell knows? Vasya, I sent a car for you. We need to send a warning over the city on your bear. The equipment will be delivered soon. Wait, Palich, my helicopter is being repaired, remember? I'm on vacation for 3 days. How will I fly? I called the technicians. An hour ago they changed the control units and are finishing up the electrical equipment. The machine is almost ready. In a couple of hours the speakers for the warning will be installed. Vasya, the mayor called. This is his order. Everything is very serious. Listen, Palich, are you really trying to screw me over? What war? The sharp voice on the phone began to take on pleading notes. Turn on the TV. Go online. You'll see everything yourself. Anyway, I sent a car, my Chevrolet Niva, right to the entrance. That's it. We'll talk on the spot. What nonsense. At first, I just wanted to turn off the phone and go back to sleep. But there was something wrong, unusual about it. Palich is a serious guy, and we've known each other for a long time. He wouldn't do anything weird. Okay. I need to open my eyes. Wash my face. He ran his hand over his chin. Well, yeah, shave off the stubble. It takes about 10 minutes in total. I go out to the kitchen, already dressed. I'd like to eat something. Okay. We'll eat at school. I'll pop into the nightstand on the way. What's on TV? A couple of minutes later, I was genuinely stunned. Different TV channels were showing something like this in different sequences. An unprecedented attack has been carried out on our planet. Major cities and industrial centers around the world have been destroyed. Millions of dead. They showed footage from some hospitals, field tent camps in the light of spotlights. They transmitted reports from abroad, with approximately the same footage. A scorched Asian was crying and wailing on camera. Madhouse. The first channel showed nothing but white noise. The second one did the same. Only local channels were working. Entertainment and Star. That's what they were showing this nonsense on. Or maybe it's not nonsense. Entrain. Inamazi kuro. Maokenikomen er. Contact groups are being created. Governments and newly announced administrations of all countries are ready to extend helping hands to each other. Rubbed his temples and took a sip of water straight from the teapot. Well, it was complete nonsense. Looked out the window. Everything seemed quiet, calm. People were still sleeping. There were the janitors, the earliest inhabitants of the yard, shouting something to each other. They never stand on ceremony. The last thing I heard before turning off the TV. Severe interruptions in communication are expected. It's amazing how electronics continue to work at all. But as long as we have the opportunity, we will broadcast. The situation with the radio signal is slightly better. According to the latest data, China has suffered the least impact. So far, there are reports of the destruction of only 2 coastal cities. I looked at my mobile phone. All is dead, so the connection is still okay? Okay, I'll get to the school, and from there to the airfield. We'll see what's what there. The car didn't keep me waiting. When I left the entrance, the boss's Niva was already parked. The engine was running, the driver was smoking and looking around. It was cold. Autumn. What can you say? I ran out lightly, putting on only a tracksuit. Well, okay, at the airfield, my flight jacket was lying in my office. That's what I called a small utility room where you could drink tea and lie on a worn leatherette sofa. I sit down in the front and turn around. A soldier armed with a machine gun is smoking in the back seat. Hello, guys. What are you doing with such a parade? No, I'm talking about the armed soldier. Hi, Vasyan. Palich ordered to take one. The driver nods behind him. Some kind of chaos is starting there. Have you heard already? I heard something. It sounds like nonsense. The soldier behind me chuckles. No, Vasyan, it's not nonsense. The first thing I did was call my mother-in-law. She lives in Smolensk. She's screaming hysterically, but in essence, everything is like on TV. So what now? Listen, Vasya, I'm a driver at the airfield, and I personally drive Palich's ass here. I was told to pick you up. I'm picking you up. Maybe the soldier knows something? I turn around as the driver starts to move. Great again. I extend my hand. Vasya. Pasha. What do you say, Pasha? Conscript? Contract soldier? And silence. Is he trying to look like a tough guy or something? So? What next? Can you say anything relevant? Give me a cigarette, by the way. It was starting to get on my nerves. Not only was there some kind of chaos going on around here, but this soldier was also spinning a dynamo, Rambo, your mother. And I wanted to sleep. The prospect of soon having to lift my cow into the air and fly around the whole city was of little joy. The soldier took a pack out of his camouflage trousers and handed it to me. And he was smoking some kind of crap. How could I have made such a fool of myself? I forgot my cigarettes. Listen, friend. Stop at a kiosk somewhere. You need to buy some cigarettes. It is not allowed. What? Listen, Vasya, stop it, okay? Need a smoke? Take a pack from the glove compartment. Give it to me later. I was ordered to deliver you. Let's go. The city is not calm. I turn back to the soldier. It's a stupid feeling, really. I feel like a kid in my 40s. Well, you'll say what, no? Just on the merits. The soldier cleared his throat. He was still a kid, no more than 25 years old. I don't know any more than you do. I was taken off patrol. They were looking for some idiot who went to the Special Investigation Department. I serve in Cheryamushki at the training ground. I see. And that's all? I only know that everyone was put on alert. Full combat alert. I called my buddy. He's hanging around at the Civil Defense and Emergencies headquarters. The same bunch of guys there. I light a cigarette given to me by a contract soldier Rambo, but immediately let it go and almost fall into the back seat, between the 2 front ones. The driver turns sharply to the left and picks up speed on the empty oncoming lane. Your mother! What the hell? Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a soldier cocking his machine gun and breaking the glass with the barrel, stepping on my head with his knee. Oh, shit. The soldier actually started shooting somewhere. Are you out of your minds? It turned out rather inexpressively. The soldier fired the magazine in one burst and only then returned to his original position. I sat half-turned, rubbing the back of my head. So, Ma, are you out of your minds? Now it turned out better. The soldier is shaking. What are you yelling about? Look over there. He points to the windshield in which a hole gapes, surrounded by a network of cracks. Wow. Threw something? Who? They almost threw a stick at us all. Someone shot from the second floor with a gun. The driver was already yelling. Well, some kind of madhouse really happened, and it looks like it will soon be everywhere. Previously, I got from my house near the trade city to the school in the center in 30 minutes and to the Karbyshev airport in 20. And what will happen next? Nobody spoke to me until school. I was looking out the side window. The driver was looking straight ahead, and the contract soldier seemed to want to look out all the windows at once and kept turning his head. I nod towards the machine. Have you fired it all? Raise the safety catch. No, there are 3 bullets left. Yes, there are exactly 3 of us. The joke was stupid, but despite this, the soldier burst into loud laughter. No, at first he stared at me in confusion, but a moment later he began to laugh. The driver also chuckled slightly. 20 minutes later, we were on the school grounds. Palich was sitting in his office and trying to act as usual. What caught my eye were the soldiers. Some were in the lobby, sitting on chairs and staring at their smartphones. At least they were holding their weapons on their laps. Some were patrolling the grounds, and I saw another one on the way to Palich's office. I enter without knocking. Palich, great. The fat, sweaty headmaster looks at me in surprise. Vasya, great. Why are you here? I told you to go straight to the airfield. What? I understood that he was coming to you first. The driver didn't tell me anything like that. He took me here straight away. Fuck. Come on, grab him by the ass and rush him straight to the airfield. Check the car right away and lift it up. The second pilot is already there. Why the hell do I need a second pilot? Listen, Vasya, let's not do this, okay? I understand and know everything. You've flown all over the Caucasus, but let's do everything according to the rules, and an equipment specialist will fly with you. By notification? Yes, it seems like they're already finishing the installation there. Palich. I don't know if the driver will go or not. There's something wrong with the car. Palich, who had already decided that all orders had been given, looked up. In what sense? At that moment, the driver entered the office. Only now did I notice that his face was badly scratched, probably by fragments from the windshield. Ask him over there. I haven't seen him. The driver briefly but very expressively, with choice swear words, told Palich what had happened on the way. He blurted it all out at once and looked expectantly at his boss. The latter picked up a pencil and broke it, miscalculating his strength. In short, take my car. Palich threw the keys to the driver. And drive to the airfield. Take the soldier with you. Anyone, unless it's the one who didn't run away with you. Take him. The airfield has its own security. All commercial flights have been canceled. People will be gradually transported from the airport. Airfield. That's it. Stop talking. You know where to go. Come on, hurry up. And guys. The tone changed from commanding to confidential and pleading. Don't tell anyone what happened on the way. Like that they shot at us, etc. The driver chuckled again, even grunted. Who should I tell? Everyone at the checkpoint and at the entrance saw the hole in the windshield anyway. I drove here in a car. Okay. Palich. I'll tell everyone for your sake that I poked it with my finger. Okay, that's it. Get the hell out of here. Just don't hit my car. 3 hours later, the second pilot and I were flying around the city perimeter. That was the order. After the flight, we refueled at the airfield and then flew around the sectors. They were playing some nonsense at full volume about a curfew, about having to leave the streets. In short, the city administration simply came up with the only bright idea at the initial stage, to remove all people from the streets. At the first stage of what? The big mess probably, which was getting closer and closer, anarchy, a terrible force. I encountered it when I was still a kid. When I was 12 in 1994 in one of the republics of the North Caucasus. But bygones be bygones. At that time, due to my age, I did not understand much. I did not understand at all why the people around me had all gone crazy. I understood a little why I had to go all the way to Siberia to be with my relatives. And then, I finally understood that permissiveness and anarchy do terrible things to people. I once read in a newspaper, in France, a young girl stripped naked and exposed herself to the public in some square. The French woman had a sign hanging on her. The text allowed anyone to do with her whatever they wanted without the threat of legal action. So, a real hell started there. which gradually grew. First, someone pinched her. Then, someone touched her. Someone poured something on her. And then, people are essentially animals who are kept in check by laws and the threat of inevitable punishment. Some people keep themselves in check with their conscience, and some adapt to both the laws and their conscience, playing pranks on the sly. But what if you remove the law, and there is no trace of conscience? It's all over. This whole gang will rush out into the streets in search of easy money. This is if we are talking about stupid degenerates. But what if sophisticated sadists like Chikatilo appear among them in a faceless crowd? And there is no law. Bye-bye. Everything is allowed. The only hope is that people will organize themselves, establish some kind of order, and the city authorities are up to something there. We were tasked with informing the people. Suddenly, something distinctly knocked from below the bottom. Tick, tick, tick. My hands somehow automatically turned the steering wheel to the left. I forgot about the pitch movement and the machine slightly dipped forward, but at the same time began to maneuver to the right, going into a turn. Heard on the radio of the flight helmet, "Commander, what was that?" I level the car and gain altitude. Who the hell knows? And at that moment I clearly see distant flashes on the ground through the lateral hemisphere. The car has gone into a turn. I can't do anything else. The speed and the turn and the altitude should cover us. We're returning to the airfield. I report to the central post by radio that we were fired upon over the Kirov district. The madhouse is beginning. The little people have reached out for weapons. And not just smoothbore homemade ones, but automatic ones, the operation of which is prohibited among mere mortals. The question is, where did they get them? And the answer is, anywhere. They disarmed the cops, smashed some duty station or maybe a military patrol. The soldier in the car that was taking me to Palich, he was taken off the city patrol, right? It was hard to believe, and besides, why did a civilian open fire on us? Maybe one of the guardians of law and order has gone crazy? Weapons are power, and power is a terrible force. Ha! Did you see the idiot? Huh? How did I take him down? With the first shot. Near the city Stella, in the area of the oil refinery, a thin, red-haired man in a tarpaulin windbreaker was casting a glow. A native of a summer cottage village, apparently. Yes, stop yelling. The second one, in a traffic cop uniform, was rummaging through the glove compartment of a jeep on the side of the road, trying not to look at the corpse of a large man in a leather jacket behind the wheel. The man was lying with his chest on the steering wheel. Brains and some grayish-red mucus were splattered across the dashboard from a hole in his head. Shit. I'm gonna puke. There was nothing in the glove compartment except for some junk. Cars were rushing past on the road out of town. 1, 2, more. But no one cared what was happening at that moment on the side of the road behind Stella, especially since there was a traffic police Priora parked nearby. Red finished taking a leak and went to the jeep, opened the back door. There lay a young dead woman. Fuck, why did you kill her? Look at her, she's such a babe. I'd like to fuck her first. The dark-haired young man, now a former traffic cop, was holding onto his holster and barely holding back the urge to vomit. Leaned over, but held back, breathing deeply. Yes, it was an accident. I was also shooting at a guy. Okay, screw it. We'll find it later. What's in that asshole's trunk? In the trunk, they found a folded AKS-74, which left them amazed. And the guy looks like he's one of the gang. So, did we disarm the bandit? Red laughed. Yeah, give me the machine gun. The redhead recoiled. Why the fuck? And immediately, without a word, he hit the traffic cop in the snout with the barrel of his machine gun. The traffic cop fell down, covered in blood. The red-haired man named Yegor, who after his second stint in prison was working as an electrician in a dacha cooperative, opened the magazine, making sure it was loaded. He pulled the bolt and shot his accomplice, who had been stunned by the blow, with a burst through his back. Give him the machine gun, you'll get by, trash. He spat on the corpse, then took his service weapon out of the holster and put it in the pocket of his windbreaker. He looked around the jeep like he owned the place. So, clients overboard. And he had to go back to the city, pick up something or someone for cash, and then get out of here. It was hard to unload the guy. A heavy hog, 100 kilograms, maybe more. Your mother. He threw brains at the whole panel. The chick was light. Yegor looked her over. What a cute babe. She was. A serviceable bitch, only there was a hole in her neck and blood was pouring in. He laid her down on the seat again, looked around. Oh, She'll do. He went up to the dead traffic cop, tore off his jacket, and then wrapped it around the dead girl's head and neck. And he started unzipping his fly. 15 minutes later, Yegor was speeding into town. He felt around in the recess in front of the gearshift and pulled out a pack of cigarettes. Oh my, and the client smoked expensive cigarettes. He had money. He was a fucking idiot. We should have searched his pockets. Since there was no money in the glove compartment, that meant it was in his pockets. Or on his card. Although, who needs money now? A PM lay like a heavy stone in the pocket of his tarpaulin windbreaker. A Kalashnikov assault rifle lay on the right seat, and a Tiger carbine lay between two large bloodstains on the back seat. Throwing away his cigarette, the murderer and necrophile reached for the mobile phone he had placed on the dashboard. There was a connection. The plan, too. Slavian. Great. Have you watched the news? Yeah. What do you think I should do? Why am I calling? Yeah. I owe you some money. Yeah. I'm bringing it. Are you home? With your woman? Okay, wait, I'll be there soon. We'll think about it together. Slavian's woman was beautiful. Everything was in place, both boobs and ass. But Slavian was an asshole. With these thoughts, Yegor pressed the pedal to the floor. Whether he or he didn't shoot at the helicopter warning the population that evening will remain unknown, but he had a weapon, and with it, power over other people's lives and destinies. Chapter 4. Petrovich decided to go for broke, and I squeezed the pistol and pointed it at the whisper, became wary and tried my best to peer into the darkness. It seemed that Petrovich did not need this. Suddenly, he simply growled loudly. I was really surprised. Where did he get such a voice from? In the darkness, it seemed that some seasoned Ufsin officer was growling at the reception. Stand still, you bastard! Don't move. I'm opening fire to kill. I immediately heard the concrete foundation of our duty room, which formed a ledge, scrape under Petrovich's feet. Of course, I immediately shifted, suddenly opening fire at the shout. But no one opened fire. Who are you? And immediately, but already addressing me. Hey, Captain, are the riot police on their way yet? Take aim at them. He called me Captain. I'll definitely need to find out more about Petrovich's life and extraordinary adventures later. Not a simple man? Oh, not a simple one. I'm not at a loss either. Yes, sir, Lieutenant Colonel. The Oman commander is on the line. Luckily, there were two ordinary idiots behind the chain-link fence. Well, maybe three. Alcoholics or ex-convicts who decided to sneak into the duty station territory. They probably watched as the entire duty station patrol scattered like rats. But they didn't take into account that I was on the other side of the facade. And Petrovich was on the territory. Down! Everybody on the ground, you bitches, Petrovich growled again. I loudly clicked the PM clip as a warning and take aim at the chain link again. From there, a hoarse and uncertain voice. That's it, Commander. That's it. We're leaving. Sorry. We decided to take a piss by the wrong fence. We're leaving, Petrovich whispered to me. Come on, have a warning shot, which I do immediately. After a little psychological release, the shot does not seem excessively loud. Quickly over the fence here, or shoot to kill. Adrenaline must have given the two failed raiders strength. Wow, all those faces are familiar. That's why I hear a familiar voice. Santik, is that you? 15 days wasn't enough for you, so you decided to earn some money for attacking a police post? I come out of the shadows and turn Santik, a serving criminal from a nearby 5-story building, against the chain-link fence. And who is that with you? Did you bring your brother or something? I quickly search them. Under the gun. Well, these are service skills. Santik has a switchblade in his pocket. I just throw it aside. His brother, nicknamed either Rotten or Praley, I don't remember, has empty pockets except for a mobile phone. Two morons. Listen, eldest, let me go. The devil got into me, just let me go. Do it like a human being. Here, the standard bleeding has begun. Let go. Don't get me confused. And here's a dick to you. Now shut up. Get in line in front of me. You're such a bitch, Senior. I hit him on the head with the pistol handle, but only slightly. Am I exceeding my authority? Yes, definitely. But the conditions are not entirely objective. Petrovich is still standing there, silent, probably watching. Come on, let's go. A few minutes later, I put them both in the monkey house. The magnetic lock clicks and locks them securely. Chief, are you out of your mind? Let me out. Yeah, right. You wanted to go to the duty room? Here you go. And you, Rotten, or whatever your name is? Look in your pocket. You have a cell phone. It's okay, you'll get out. Adios. Petrovich lit a cigarette, hiding the flame in his palm. Did you lock them in or something? Yes, let them rest. Listen, man. I don't know about you, but I'm in light. What the hell is there to guard here? Wait for someone more serious to come. I light a cigarette too. Okay, I'm with you, but first let's go to my place. I need to change. Yeah, you better change your color. They'll probably start hunting cops soon. I wonder what the authorities think. Anyway, let's take a car now, go to your place, and then we'll figure out how to get to Svetli. We'll consider your apartment 0. 0? Okay, don't worry about it. Where do you live? I finished smoking and put the cigarette out on the wall, sending sparks flying. At Povorotnaya by the road. Petrovich also stews the bull, but on the ground. Okay. It's 20-30 minutes from here if you drive, and from your house to Svetli it's 5 kilometers. So where will we find a car? Petrovich simply turned his back and walked along the duty station to the barrier. They left the residential area onto the central road, which ran from Komarovsky to the Crystal Micro-District, then to Povorotny and Torgovy Gorod. It was approaching midnight. I took out my mobile phone again. Nothing. But instead of all the bars, only one was flickering, and even that periodically broke into no signal. Is everything familiar really collapsing so quickly? On the road near the Komarovsky supermarket on Komarovskaya, all the streetlights were already broken. Some people were pouring into the supermarket itself in a crowd. There were shouts, fights. Someone was running out with loaded carts. The supermarket was already burning. There were many cars in the parking lot, all with broken windows. Someone was trying to start some, whether successfully or not. I don't know. Petrovich, we won't find a car here. Okay, I see. Stay in the shadows. Don't stick your head out. Otherwise, you'll become a participant in a lynching in your uniform. Look over there. Petrovich pointed his finger towards the arch between 2 9-story buildings across the road. There, a beam of light flickered, as if a car was turning through the courtyards. Valek, go first. Give me the gun here. I'll cover you. Then I'll run across myself. Try to stay in the shadows. The road in one go. I reluctantly gave the PM to my comrade in misfortune. Okay, don't worry. I'll give it to you in the yards. Just look for what kind of car it is and stop it. How? What do you mean, how? You're the power. Hurry up. This is our chance. Everything is so simple, total crap. Well, there's nothing to be done. I fly into the yard as if on wings. I immediately see a car. A Lada Largus, which is scurrying around the yard and trying to get out in a safe place. The driver did not dare to drive through the arch right in front of the looted supermarket. I catch up with the car and knock on the side window. The car stops. The driver abruptly lowers the window. Oh my God, man. Are you a cop or something? What's going on around here? Did you see it? What should we do now? A fat guy in a denim jacket, his eyes wide open, drooling. A guy on the edge, and then, lo and behold, he saw a cop. Indeed, I am still a power for him. Yeah, a policeman. Dude, listen. Where are you going? Petrovich is already in his usual repertoire. He just sneaks up from behind and opens the passenger door. He climbs inside and says to me through the dumbfounded man, "What are you staring at? Sit down." I run around the door and sit down in the passenger seat to the right of the driver. Oh, yeah. I turn around, and in the back, besides Petrovich, there's a frightened woman of about 45, and on her lap and next to her are 2 boys of about 5 and 6. You can tell right away that they're brothers. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Listen, man, what's your name? He looks at us, dumbfounded and frightened. Ivan. He stutters heavily on the V. I extend my hand. I'm Valentin, and he's Andrei Petrovich. Listen, Ivan, what's your patronymic? P. Petrovich. Oh, almost namesakes. Listen, you see what's going on. Normal people should stick together whenever possible. We won't do you any harm. So, what do you want from me? Petrovich leans forward between the 2 seats. Look, now we need to go to Povorotnaya, but we'll go through the courtyards. It's dangerous to go to the central one now. I think you figure it out yourself. The woman in the back seat huddled to the left of Petrovich. I wink and smile through him at the 2 boys. The uniform calms them down a bit, or maybe not. Ivan Petrovich nods. So, Look further. Now to Povorotnaya? We'll quickly pack up there. He needs to change. Andrei nods at me. And then straight to Svetly. From Povorotnaya. I'll call my man at Svetly. They'll meet us there. Right now, the only ones who can organize any kind of order are the military. Agreed? Ivan nods again. Oddly enough, his wife, well, wife who else, also nods her head affirmatively and repeatedly. And where were you going? Leave the city? To Tyumen. I look at Petrovich. What's there in Tyumen? Is it still intact? Hell knows I didn't hear anything. You were watching TV with me in the duty room. Well, yes, that's right. In short, Vanya, let's go to Povorotnaya first, then to Svetly. You won't be able to protect them alone. Petrovich nods at the children. We didn't really choose the road. We drove through flower beds and front gardens. We rammed fences several times. In principle, the Largus coped with the new traffic rules. When we crossed the roadway between micro-districts several times, I demanded that the woman bend down herself and her boys. You never know what might come into someone's head. Now, most people are raging through supermarkets and suddenly someone will get caught on the road. While we were driving, Petrovich quietly handed me my PM from under the seat on the right. I simply put it in my pocket. I didn't want to attract attention. And Ivan Petrovich? I caught his glance. He saw that the holster was empty. Thank God at least he wasn't fooling around. And what would we have done? Well, I certainly wouldn't have done anything. I would have simply stopped his resistance, and then waved my hand after the car leaving. And Petrovich? I don't even know. Everything was quiet in my yard. Strangely, there was no light in any of the windows of my paneled block. When we drove up to the entrance, I clearly saw someone on the 4th floor pull the curtain. Everyone was sitting in their holes, waiting for something, probably watching the latest news. What is there to watch? Everyone is reporting very specifically. An attack by unknown forces. Unknown. Now, take it as an alien invasion and believe it. It's hard to wrap your head around. Ivan Petrovich slowly drove the car behind the parking lot to the birches in the front garden, the most sheltered place in the yard, and turned off the headlights. Andrei Petrovich slowly opened the back door and got out of the car, squatted behind the trunk and began to watch the yard. I headed to my entrance, taking out the key to the intercom as I went. From the Protocol of the Secret Order, hereinafter referred to as Implementation of the Blue Beam Project. In view of the current world situation, an unprecedented decision has been made to begin the phased implementation of the Blue Ray Project, namely, the destruction of vast areas across the globe with preliminary psychological visual graphic processing of the population, hereinafter referred to as sound and visual holograms projected onto the sky. First stage of the project, projection of holograms with various semantic loads onto the sky during the hours of maximum human mass accumulation. Visual effects should have a religious theme, the Refilm Project, for a number of regions. Imitation of the arrival of extraterrestrial civilizations, the Alien Project. The duration of the project is a day before the introduction of the second stage, with possible adjustments in time. The second stage is to put intercontinental nuclear ballistic forces, China, USA, Russia, into combat readiness, to put special sabotage groups into combat readiness to destabilize the situation in large cities. After the destruction of large areas with population, bypassing the main zones of resource extraction, to begin the implementation of the third stage. The third stage involves control over the main life support and energy resources, declaration of a global state of emergency, justification of the factor of unification of nations and peoples, establishment of a single world government of supranational corporations, elimination of the institution of the presidency, monarchies and other types of government, economic and social formations. For implementation, use controlled continental military and paramilitary forces. Liquidate sabotage units and loyal executors of the first and second stages, with the exception of persons with special clearance, a separate list. Page 112, paragraph 2. A man in a white coat sat in front of a large block of equipment and displays, watching, taking readings, making notes in a lined notebook. A man in a black jacket entered the room. He looked about 40 years old, with an officer's bearing. The man was accompanied by 2 U.S. Army soldiers, Special Forces. Mr. White, what about the implementation of the project? How is interaction with the satellite constellation carried out? Mr. White, an employee of the Secret Information and Analysis Department of the U.S. Special Contingent in Nevada, rolled his chair away from the equipment, lowered his glasses, and stood in front of the officer. The officer made a sign that he could report while sitting. One of the Special Forces pulled a chair from the nearest console block and placed it in front of his commander. The satellite group over the USA, Russia, and China interacts correctly. Most of the satellites have been transferred to geostationary orbit, with a slowdown in motion against the rotation of the globe. Satellites used to provide visual holograms in the ionosphere and stratosphere have been transferred to a standby mode of operation. A small ping with an hour delay from weather satellites with special observation equipment over Saudi Arabia and Africa. Possible disruption of magnetic and ion exchange as a result of nuclear cavitation. This is all? Not quite. There is no connection with the U.S. military contingent group in Afghanistan and Iraq, Marine Corps and paratroopers. Wordwashi ni honorant. The latest information indicates clashes with local nationalist and pro-Islamic forces. In addition, the fact of the defeat of 9 satellites by anti-satellite missiles of the Russian Federation military space forces has been revealed. The remaining satellites record the redeployment of the remnants of the army to the borders with China and Europe, the consolidation of the fleet in the Pacific Ocean, the Black and Baltic Seas. The officer grinned predatorily. They started moving. Nothing. What did they have under the Blu-ray program? White moved closer to the console again, entered access codes on the huge elongated keyboard, and a program about Russia appeared on the display on the side. Signin Giwetsioros. On this day in Moscow, at the very rush hour, there was a bustle of people and cars. The subway was jammed. The entire multi-million Moscow was returning from lunch to work, threatening a traffic collapse. A lively woman behind the wheel of her Hyundai was pulling out of the parking lot in front of Oshan and cursing at a fat man who blocked her way in his Lexus. In the micro-districts of New Moscow, an elderly Tajik grandmother was taking her grandchildren to kindergarten and was basically enjoying life. Someone was just sitting at home and frying potatoes. It is difficult, almost impossible, to describe the life of the city among people, relationships, voices and words, actions, but everything was intertwined into a single ball, interacted with each other, piled up and screamed. Construction sites were deafening the ear with drills and the grinding of excavators. Taxi drivers of different nations were deafening the roads with their horns. Restaurants, cafes, and small snack bars were full of laughter, conversations, satiety, and delicious smells. Gateways and entrances threatened with fear and the ordinariness of life. Students were poring over books, having fun in dormitories, falling in love and filling the general background with smart phrases, calculations, dreams of the future. Someone was getting divorced. Someone was making love, smoking after intercourse and getting ready to go home, and someone continued to bask in their arms. Clerks with a business-like look were hurrying home to their wives and children. Markets and shops were ringing and rustling with money. This was Moscow, the capital of the vast Russia, the happiness and joy, pain and defeat of the people who were born here, or who came here for good luck. Last night, when the sun was hiding behind the horizon, leaving a thin red foxtail under the illuminated evening clouds, many skywatchers could see strange, bluish-bright flashes, illuminating the darkening sky with short, distorted flashes. Someone decided for themselves that these were bright stars falling from the sky, made wishes. Someone saw, was surprised and forgot. Someone climbed into Google or other search engines in the hope of seeing short messages about a meteor shower among the news flow. All these people were wrong. At that moment, an unprecedented order was given to all air defense groups in the Russian Federation to destroy the U.S. satellite group over the country. At the same time, almost the entire Russian satellite group was destroyed and disabled. The missile strike on the Russian satellites was preceded by a hacker attack on the command and control systems. Ordinary people did not know any of this. The next day was no different from the previous one. Moscow remained Moscow, but all its polyphony and crowdedness was instantly struck by an extraordinary spectacle. Cumulus clouds opened up with a radiance, and in the sky the image of an angel began to form, stretching his arms to the ground. The angel was surrounded by a fiery radiance. His eyes radiated inhuman malice. The image was absolutely unreal in its reality. The ears and hearing of people were struck by a thunderous cry. From the sky throughout the entire area spread, "Repent, people, your last days are coming." Panic. No. Hysteria overwhelmed the people. For a moment, a brief moment, everything froze. People held their breath, but at that very moment a wave of screams overwhelmed the streets. People ran, screamed, pointed their fingers at the sky, instinctively bending down to the ground. Someone fell to their knees. Those running to an unknown destination, most likely home under the roof and familiar walls, the illusion of safety could notice how the visiting migrants fell to their knees in a mass and began to read their prayers tremblingly, crying. An elderly grandmother at the drugstore on Kashirka collapsed to the ground with a massive heart attack. Epileptics, sensing the approach of a seizure, sank to the asphalt. The crowd pouring out of the metro rotunda turned back. A crush, swearing, screaming began. People trampled each other, forced their way inside underground. It is unknown why the hermetic shutters worked, sealing people in the dungeon. The poor fellows who remained outside or inside near the hermetic shutters had their arms and legs torn off, were smashed by metal. The spectacle lasted for about an hour. The first reports appeared in the news stream. Social networks were overgrown with all sorts of selfies and videos, and at the same time the first pogroms and murders began. Preachers in churches and mosques went berserk in religious fits. An unusual celestial phenomenon was registered in Moscow, the entire Moscow region ring, and Smolensk. Eyewitnesses from the regions bordering Ukraine and Belarus also testified to the appearance of a celestial angel. The spectacle disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared, as if someone had turned off the TV. But irreversible processes had begun in society. The news carried hundreds of reports about angels and flying saucers and all sorts of other devilry appearing over cities around the world. If, of course, one could say that about angels appearing. A few hours later, just before sunset, many eyewitnesses were horrified by a sight more deadly, but no less grandiose. Moscow burned in nuclear fire. The same thing happened almost all over the world simultaneously. Over China, people saw the flights of heavenly dragons, gods, and spirits. Over India, the deadly goddess Kali appeared. In the USA and England, angels and saints cried from the sky, but for everyone, everything ended the same. Large cities were struck by nuclear fire, and after it came anarchy and the horrors of a man-made post-apocalypse. Those who were destined to survive in ignorance peacefully went to sleep in their beds. But the news streams continued to be broadcast on functioning channels. How come I didn't find out about this right away? Ask me, and I won't be able to answer. Now, when there is no YouTube or other social networks, no normal connection, I remember that I saw something like this on the internet. Briefly. Or maybe I didn't see it. Maybe it seems to me. The beginning of the end of the world and its end passed for me like an ordinary evening and night. And in the morning, I went on duty. For many, except for eyewitnesses and the dead, everything went exactly like that. Some, having realized the collapse of past traditions, laws, and orders, felt that everything was permissive. I entered the entrance and walked up the stairs. The 5-story residential building did not include an elevator or a garbage chute, but that was okay. I was happy with everything. I walked along the entrance and shone the flashlight. The automatic backlight bulbs that were triggered by noise stopped working for some reason. One step, another step, a flight. My door was right in the middle. A bay window, so to speak, an apartment. I loved my house. I was proud of buying an apartment, even with a mortgage. I shine the flashlight into the door. The light highlights various inscriptions in markers. Paint. Holy shit. When did they even have time? Among the most harmless phrases, one could single out cops, cop. Then they threatened to engage in sexual intercourse in an unnatural form. Someone was sneaking up from above. I didn't hear the footsteps. I felt them. With my whole skin, my intuition, my butt. Footsteps. I turned around sharply and dodged a blow from a telescopic baton. The metal passed over my shoulder. You bitch! That's me. The opponent, invisible in the darkness, probably counted on the first sudden blow. My training and strength did their job. After a few moments, I was already sitting on the villain's body and deftly twisting his arm behind his back. That's it. Calm down. Adrenaline is pounding my heart. Even my voice is shaking. Or did it seem that way? Okay, we'll deal with that later. I peer into the darkness of the staircase. No one. So, he was alone. I quickly turn him over onto his back, onto his broken arm. The carcass is groaning. I shine a flashlight into his face. What a little bastard. Beneath me lay a 15-year-old neighbor's son, who was being raised by a single mother who often threw alcohol behind her collar. At first, I tried to influence her behavior, then I gave up. Let the local police officer deal with it. A drunkard, but quiet. And her son studied at college and was not famous for anything so impudent. Truly, still waters run deep. I stand up and pull him along with me. Stand up and give him a powerful, stinging slap. I need to stun him. Are you crazy, idiot? What are you doing? I hit him in the stomach. What are you doing, freak? I pull him up by the collar so he stands straight. He starts to close up. No, damn it. The devil made me do it. I'll mess things up for you now, you bastard. Why did you attack? Who's with you? The guy started bleeding, as I already said, the usual behavior of a criminal when he is cornered. Mom's boyfriend. He told me to take the bagpipe from you. From you. He said he'd kill me if I didn't do it. It's a shame there are no handcuffs. I would have chained the bastard to the entrance. I left the bracelets in the duty room when I went out to patrol the territory. In vain. Well, no problem. I have some equipment at home. And where is Mother? I take the belt out of my trousers myself. At home, they are lying drunk. They got drunk, as if the news announced an attack by aliens. What? A few hours ago on all the channels I work on. Didn't you see it? What I saw is my business. Hands behind your back, quickly. I can't let him go. But what should I do with him? I'll go into my hut, and this little brat will leave, and who will he come with? I have the waves. But how will things turn out? There are a lot of kids these days, and they're all wandering around somewhere. Maybe he'll gather them in 5 minutes, and they'll come back. To hell with it. I tie his hands behind his back and then lay him on the steps and railings. I push the metal bars apart. Stick your head in. I push him with a kick and squeeze his neck with the rods. Be patient. Then I'll let you go. If you scream, I'll snap at you right on the stairs. The guy wheezed, but after the kick he began to breathe more evenly, saving his breath. It's okay. He won't choke. I open my door and enter the apartment. What a bastard, huh? Who would have thought? People, hello? Are you nuts? Okay, to hell with them all. A bag. I need a bag. I had one in my closet, a good quality blue sports bag. I went on business trips at first before my service in the duty unit, and to change clothes. I open the closet and throw my things on the sofa. A coat, a down jacket, a sports jacket. I decide to change into a tracksuit, tights and a jacket, a sweater under the jacket. You never know what's ahead, and it looks like I won't be able to return anytime soon. The pants are a bit thin. I need to put pants on over pants. I have another pair of sweatpants. My hands are shaking. I need to pull myself together. It really feels like I've taken a shit in my soul. I sit down on the sofa, write on my things. I need to catch my breath a little, get my thoughts in order, but I can't linger either. I need a mini plan. Things, food, something to drink, and something useful. What? Looks like we'll figure it out. I put the bag in the middle of the room, open it wider. I put another jacket on the bottom, a short nylon one just in case. A pair of socks, a comfortable t-shirt, comfortable boxer shorts. I look at them and can't help but grin, each with their own. I drag the bag to the refrigerator, just throw a stick of smoked sausage off the shelf, some cheese, a fairly large piece of lard, 2 Snickers bars, and put them in the pockets of my sports jacket. Oh my God, I forgot my holster. I run from the refrigerator to the sofa where I threw it while changing. I throw my things around. The holster is gone. Your mother, where is it? Okay, that's it. Don't rush around. Here it is, lying on the nightstand next to the sofa. I take out the PM and just put it in my pocket, checking the safety catch. I run to the refrigerator again. Water. I need to get some water. And what should I pour it into? I wonder if Ivan got the water. Probably, but he's with his wife and kids. Taking from him is somehow indecent. And so they took the man into their hands. We need to hurry. Okay then. I take the plastic bags from under the sink and pour water from the tap directly into them. 2 bags. There are about 5 liters. That's all? Something else, but what? Just in case, I take a bottle of vodka from the freezer and throw it into the bag, tying it with nylon. Things, food for the first time. It's a pity there is no bread. Although wait, there are cookies. Rather bland will do. Into the bag. I took water. A knife. That's right. I need a good knife. I rummage around in the closet and take out 1 penknife Victorinox for 4 items, blade, awl, small screwdriver and fork, and a large Uzbek pachak, which was given to me by an Uzbek colleague. Or maybe a Kyrgyz. I don't know for sure. Straight into the bag with the sheath, and the Victorinox in the pocket. What else do survivalists take on the road? I remembered the books I read on this topic, and the films, but nothing concrete from the advice and recommendations. Exactly. I had a flask somewhere and I need to take a power bank. I quickly find my power block, as I called it, 10,000 amperes, and plug it into the charger. Let it charge as much as I can. I'll take the cable too. I pick up my cell phone again. The battery is almost dead. Not a word from my parents. The flask is exactly half a liter. I take a bottle of vodka out of my bag, rummage through it, and pour it into the flask. That will be safer. That seems to be all. I zip up my jacket. No way. I'll take a blanket for the boys in the car just in case, and I need to change into reliable shoes. I have military boots. I imagine how they will look under sweatpants, but no matter. Now is not the time for style. I grab the bag, put the bags of water on top, and squeeze them with 2 side straps so they don't fall out. I put the blanket under my arm. That's it. I turn around in the hallway. I never thought that this would happen to me in relation to my home, but I was overwhelmed by the feeling. I clearly understood. I will not come back here again. I crossed myself and my home from the hallway. I go out into the entrance and close the door. I'm rushing towards the landing below and I hear, "Hey, hey." Your mother, this "hey" again for the umpteenth time in these 24 hours, almost gave me a heart attack. Instead of a confident call, I hear a hoarse whisper. Well, yes, that same piece on the stairs. Maybe I should leave it like that. Well, maybe I should just leave you here. No need. Even more hoarsely. You won't start acting up? No. Okay. I'll do a good deed, although this puppy could have killed me, and would have killed me, and then would have simply taken the gun out of the holster, found the keys to the apartment, stepped over my body, and would have rummaged around to his heart's content. Moreover, in a peaceful, ordinary, past life, the crime would have been solved hot on the trail. But now no one would even bother to do it, if even such natural cops as Cockroach run from duty, taking with them 2 armed police officers from the patrol. I put the bag with the water packs and blanket on the floor and move the railings apart. Pull your head out, idiot. But the moron couldn't do it. He was exhausted. So, pull it out. I can't hold it for long. The stirring began. As soon as he pulled out his stupid head, I let go of the bars and unbuckled the belt on his hands. He'll get out of this on his own from now on. I'd like to punch him in the face again, even though he's a minor. Oh well, screw him. I grab the bag with everything else and go downstairs. Minor. What a funny word. But the most terrible crimes are committed by minors from 12 to 15, 16 years old. A paradox. But it is true. Probably it has been like this since Stalin's times, or maybe even earlier. Then minors would gather in packs of stray puppies, running amok from hunger and neglect. And what now? In August, a group of minors was detained at a construction site on suspicion of attempted murder, and then murder. From suspects, they quickly became defendants. And what did they do? At the same construction site, they picked up some homeless guy who was sleeping, having gorged himself on boyarka, doused him with paint, and set him on fire. The homeless guy suffered in intensive care for about a day. He was found by hard-working construction workers, and then he breathed his last. They took minors. 3, the eldest was 14, all from normal and complete families except for one, the youngest. The parents, by the way, came running almost immediately. Only one dad behaved adequately to the situation. while the others vied with each other in declaring that their offspring had mixed something up, joked, misbehaved, and in general, it wasn't them. There was, of course, a trial, but what they awarded, I don't know, and I don't care. Even at the beginning of my service, one experienced cop gave me important and necessary advice in our business. Let everything pass you by, Valak, or you'll go crazy. I made this advice a rule for myself. I leave the entrance and run to the car in a short dash. On the right, on the side where Petrovich was sitting, I open the door and throw in my bag and packages, throw a blanket on it, and sit down in the front. Petrovich comes out from behind the car and sits down in his seat. Oh, wait. I take out 2 Snickers and hand them to the back. Eat up, guys. There's a blanket on the bag. Cover yourself. It's cool. The boys took the Snickers, but their mother immediately took one and put it away. She opened the second one and divided it in half. The boys began to make a disgruntled noise. Okay, now be quiet, boys, or else you'll be whining about your teeth hurting. The woman's voice broke, rising and falling. I immediately thought of a flask of vodka, the best stress reliever, but it seemed absurd to suggest it. I turned back. Hi, guys. I extend my hand and shake little palms. My name is Valak, and then immediately instructively, Uncle, Valak. The boys smiled as they gobbled up their Snickers. What? Are you planning a trip? I filled a whole bag with food. We'll even have a rest stop. I look at the woman. She is surprised. I wink at her as if to say, don't worry. Ivan Petrovich started the car. Your mother. And I didn't take any medicine at all. Vanya, did you take any pills? I turn to our involuntary driver. Ivan turns to me and his eyes widen. No, there's a first aid kit in the car. Well, yes, of course. And in the first aid kit there is a bandage that can hardly be called a bandage, an Esmork tourniquet that bursts in the cold. And that's it. Oh, and there's also a notebook and a pen. The man is silent and suddenly goes wild. Lena, I told you to get ready. You forgot your medicine. This is still not enough, but Petrovich is ahead of me. Okay, man, don't yell. It's not the time. We'll make some money in Svetli if we need to. Get on the main road and drive at top speed. Don't even think about stopping. However, once we get out of the yards, you'll see everything for yourself. Our route lay on the right bank of the Irtysh, cutting the city of 1 million people in half, an impossible task in the current conditions. But on the other hand, there was every chance of success. There were 3 of us adult men. We had food, a car, and a weapon. A pistol. Not so great, of course, by today's standards, but still. Most of the inhabitants were unarmed and had never dealt with firearms. Even a shot in the air had a discouraging effect on such people. In addition, our involuntary driver and fellow traveler, Ivan, Uncle Vanya, as I dubbed him to myself, was driving his wife and children, which motivated him to take cautious or, on the contrary, desperately courageous actions, depending on the situation. If, at that moment, an ordinary citizen climbed the highest structure from which one can view Omsk, say from the Omsk TV tower, he would see a landscape that science fiction writers from all over the world could envy. Under the low, dark night clouds, the glow of the fire was flaring up, merging and dissolving in the sky with reflections. The territory of the oil refinery was heavily smoked. Something was exploding and banging there, probably tanks with ammonia or some other chemicals. In Neftyaniki, there was a real fight. Double-barreled guns were banging. Broken glass of the shop windows was rattling. Everyone was hooting, shouting, running around. The crackle of machine guns was heard periodically. The screams of the wounded, the groans of the dying, and women's shrieks were intertwined with the orchestra of the small arms fight. People were conspiring, forming gangs, looting and settling scores. On the runway at the Karbyshev airfield, someone desperate was taxiing on a small ATR and trying to take off. The plane was picking up speed and slowly, slanting to the left side. It took off. All that was left was to wish good luck to those on board. Where they were flying to was their business. It was a little calmer on the left bank, but still wild for peacetime. The inhabitants of the sleeping areas were slowly getting going. At that very time, on the Trade City, in the central room of the market, on the second floor, representatives of the Azerbaijani diaspora gathered. most of whom were engaged in trade in the trade city. They sold everything in a row: various clothes, fresh fruits and vegetables, food, hardware, and other goods. In general, a market. Recently, their positions have been pushed aside by visiting migrants: Tajiks, Kyrgyz, and Uzbeks. Sometimes you could see Kazakhs, of whom there have always been many in Omsk, but they more often traded in pavilions. Just from my personal experience, Asians have always behaved more politely, accommodatingly, almost never cheated. Of course, there were excesses with their youth, as a rule, unemployed. Buyers also liked them more. Everyone has already had time to get tired of the Azeris. A shaggy, broad-browed, and stocky Azerbaijani nicknamed Chukcha sat at the table. Along the walls, here and there on boxes or squatting, his fellow countrymen sat. Some of them stood and listened. "Is everyone here?" One of the Azeris stepped forward. "Everyone. Those who were at the market. Our loaders." He pointed his finger at 2 tall guys, and 2 from the security. 30 people, the rest went home. Okay. In short, listen carefully. I called my relatives in Ganja this morning. There are riots in Baku. Armenians are stirring at the border. But overall, our country has not suffered. Did you call yourself? The Azerbaijanis started making noise. I called. I swear to Allah. My heart almost broke when I heard the children. I have a brother in the army. They'll break the Armenians' backs there. Chukchi, how can I fly home now? The Chukchi stood up. Who asked? A stubbly, plump man of about 50 stepped forward. I asked. I was supposed to fly to Moscow tomorrow and from there home. What now? The Chukchi sat down. Gasif, I don't know what to do now. You can walk right now if you really need to. I know one thing for sure. We need to somehow ensure our safety and get the most out of this situation. I don't care about anything else. Another Azerbaijani, healthy as a bull, approached the table and leaned his fists on the edge of the table. And what do you mean by benefit? The Chukchi also stood up, but the big man, his name was Ali, simply brazenly lowered him onto the chair, pressing him by the shoulders, and immediately turned to the whole crowd. You all know me. I'm Ali. For those who don't know, I'm the one who watches this market. What? Did you think that everything would go back to the way it was before? Keep your pockets wide open. The crowd listened in silence. Those who want to go home can go right now, but those who stay know that we will go to the end. There are about 12,000 of us in the city. This is a whole army. Everyone must act together. Ali turned to the nearest, sullen, slightly reddish-haired, dark-skinned guy. What are the Tajiks doing there? They gathered in a crowd of more than 100 people near the entrance, discussing something there. Ali winced. Damn narrow-eyed, they might get ahead. In short, there's a car downstairs. There's some reinforcement and some machine guns in the car. We take all of this with us and go to the Tajiks' meeting place. We need to unite for a while. Then we'll see. Who's in charge? Have you seen? The gloomy Azer scratched his stubble. It seems to be Jumabai, the one who always eats at the shawarma. Do you remember him? Yes, if anything, then him first. Got it? It was not possible to reach an agreement then. The Azerbaijanis simply opened fire from 3 machine guns on the crowd of Asians who were deciding what to do next. By chance, their country was wiped off the face of the earth. Some of them were shaking and crying. Comrades were trying to support each other. Some were cursing in Russian and Tajik. Jumabey climbed onto a box and tried to call the whole polyphonic motley crowd to calm down. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the merciful and the compassionate, hear me. We must appeal to the official authorities of Russia. It rang out loudly. Where did you see them just now? Suddenly, from somewhere behind and above, there was a sound. Hey, Tajik! Bursts of machine gun fire began, lashing out at the crowd, rising higher and higher toward Jumabai. One of the bullets pecked him right in the forehead and knocked him down. The crowd didn't understand anything, started screaming and running around. The united Azerbaijanis rushed right into the thick of it and started firing rebar left and right. The original plan went to hell. Ali stood near a lamppost, smoking and cursing the morons of his fellow countrymen with whom he had gotten involved. Although maybe everything is for the best, Now they will go crazy from blood, and it is necessary to immediately direct them to a place where there are weapons and a minimum of security. To the cadet corps, where snot-nosed kids learn to shoot from combat weapons. At that time, Ali had no idea what would happen next, in the foreseeable future, namely within a year. Having had his fill of walking around Omsk, Ali moved to the region. Azerbaijan really had not suffered under the Sini Luch as one of the main oil wells in the Caucasus. But 6 months after the incident, the brave young men from the recreated Renaissance army were in full swing in the Republic and establishing order worse than the fascists. The disobedient or doubting were destroyed almost immediately, and a cruel police dictatorship was introduced for the rest. Ali, battered and beaten, did not make it to Azerbaijan. He was killed by that same gloomy, reddish-haired Azer during the division of the loot in one of the villages of the Omsk region. Uncle Vanya stepped on the gas and yawned. Thank God he managed to get out of town almost without incident, already closer to the morning. Although one opportunity did come up. Having left the Leningradsky bridge, the car illuminated the silhouette of a naked girl who was simply walking along the side of the road. Her body was covered in bruises and contusions. The girl was limping. She was completely naked. The boys and the woman were sleeping in the back seat. Petrovich was sitting next to them and keeping an eye on them. I saw everything too. Holy shit! What's wrong with her? Uncle Vanya began to slow down, but Petrovich put his hand on his shoulder. Go on. We can't help her. No way. I squeezed the gun in my pocket. Stop! Slow down! You can't do this. Ivan slows down. Petrovich behind him doesn't let up. Are you stupid? Do you want to kill everyone? Without turning around, I speak out loud. Shut up. The car stops and I run out to the girl trying to take her hand, but when I take it, the girl turns around, fear and madness in her eyes. I will never forget that look. She starts screaming wildly and clings to my face with her broken nails. Your mother! I barely tear her away from me. I can't calculate my strength on adrenaline, and the girl flies to the side of the road and can't get up. In the distance, I heard a scream, some kind of howling. Get in the car! Run! Petrovich leaned out of the window up to his waist. Faster! I vaguely remember how I found myself in the car. We drove on. I felt a poke in my back, a poke that didn't tolerate any objections, and I turned around. Petrovich looked me coldly in the eyes and handed me his phone, nodding his eyes, like, read what's on there. I take my phone and read in the SMS drafts. For your own good, never contradict me in front of civilians again. Got it? Nod. I give him the phone back, look him in the eye for a short time and nod. I'll definitely have to find out what kind of guy fate has dumped on me. An hour later it was finally light, the sky gray, covered with rain clouds. It was the perfect time for Siberian weather to pour rain. The whole landscape added to the gloom of the circumstances. That's it. I can't take it anymore. Even began to slow down on the side of the road. Petrovich rubbed his red eyes. Got a rush? Why are you going to the side of the road? Turn onto the dirt road, enter that forest. The nearest villages are about 5 kilometers away from here. It's fine. Svetli is just a stone's throw away. Ivan got out of the car and ran to the forest, going under the treetops. Don't go far. I turn around. Hey guys, get up. The boys began to toss and turn, clinging to their mother, which woke her up. She perked up and looked at me, then at Petrovich, but immediately remembered yesterday evening and calmed down a little. You should probably feed them and eat something yourself. There are cookies and sausage in the bag. There is water in the bags, excuse me, from the tap. The woman looked out the window. Where are we? Thank you. We have some of our own products, but thank you. Where is Vanya? Petrovich smiled. Don't worry, I ran off to do some men's business. I get out of the car and stretch. My back is stiff and I've sat on my butt for too long. It was quite an evening. Petrovich followed me out. Listen, Valek, don't go far. You're the only one with a weapon. After you've had a pee, look around. It's better to take a position on the dirt road. From there you can see the federal highway and what's ahead. There's most likely some village there. According to my estimates, there's a hunting ground and a tourist camp on the lakes, and Svetli is straight along the road. I nod and walk back down the road a little. Petrovich looks around and the woman starts feeding the boys sandwiches with sausage. We can't stay long. Ivan went into the forest and stood by a tree he liked and began to unbutton his fly. It was already hard to bear. Finally, relief began to come. Something rustled with steps behind him, and something long and tubular pressed into the back of his head, scraping the skin a little. Uncle Vanya, confused, leaned forward a little, but was held by the collar. "Stand still," a sharp whisper with a slight chuckle. "Let's pee first, Uncle, and then we'll talk." Ivan Petrovich tried to turn around. "Don't get distracted." The gun barrel, and that was it, hit him painfully on the back of the head again. The interlocutor from behind waited until Ivan finished relieving himself. "Well done. Now let's zip up our fly and turn around slowly." Slowly. Ivan turned around, his lower lip trembling with fear. Who are you?" Behind him stood a tall, elderly man, about 60 years old, and behind him were two younger men. All three had guns and were wearing canvas camouflage jackets. A member in a coat. The two young men behind the old giant laughed, but in a low voice. They looked around, controlling the territory. "How did you end up here? Who's in the car?" Ivan was shaking. A gun was pointed at his face. "Oh, come on, hurry up, or did you not pee enough? Who's in the car?" "Family, wife, and 2 children. We are coming from Omsk." Grandfather grinned. Of course, they stirred up an anthill. "And who are these 2 men?" Ivan began to sink on his buckling legs, but 2 young men grabbed him by the shoulders and pressed him against the tree. I'm waiting." Ivan Petrovich turned out to be a typical city coward, shouting at his wife and children, sometimes raising his hand, also bold and brave at home, domineering and despotic. But then, something went wrong in his quiet life. "I don't know them. They sat down in Omsk. One of them seemed to be a cop. He had a gun. I saw it." Grandfather frowned. "Cop?" The young men looked at each other. The grandfather put his gun down. "Okay, take him by the arms and let's go to the car. Let's see what's going on." Anand. I examined the clearing and the entire road. It was quiet on the federal highway. 2 cars passed by, and to my surprise, 1 bus heading towards Omsk. Suddenly, 4 men, or rather 3, came out of the forest to the car. They were leading the 4th one by the arms, and it was Ivan. I pulled the bolt and disappeared into the forest. I didn't see Petrovich near the car anymore. An old man in a camouflage jacket approached the car and knocked on the rear window with the butt of his rifle, then leaned over and wiped the water condensation off the glass with his palm. "Well, that's right. A woman and 2 kids. Let him go." The young men let Ivan go, and he fell on his butt, got up on all 4s with extraordinary daring and ran towards the forest, sometimes getting to his feet, sometimes falling back, on all 4s. The young men laughed and whistled after him. "What a moron. Seryoga, go catch him and then bring him here. Moron. His woman and kids are here, and he's doing this." Grandfather spat on the ground. The woman pressed herself against the side door, hugging the children. The grandfather wanted to lean towards the glass again, gesturing to the woman to lower the glass. He grabbed the door handle, but the door was locked from the inside. "Hey, stop!" I point the gun at the 3 and shout as if into the forest, "Hey guys, come here!" Suddenly, Petrovich shouted from the other side of the car and came out. "The main squad will be here soon. Who are these?" And he keeps his hand under his jacket, in his bosom. He's thinking. Grandpa looks at the ground with a detached grin, but I can see his face from the side, and he points his gun right at me. The lads took aim at me and Petrovich, each with his own goal. Damn it, what kind of ass am I? Why did I come up? They were right there in the palm of your hand from the forest. Okay, stop messing around, cop. Your man has already painted the whole picture for us. That's it. Look, I'm lowering the gun. Don't be stupid. We're on the same side. I raise my eyebrows in surprise, but I don't lower the gun. Petrovich comes closer, as if they weren't aiming at him, and stands behind the trunk of the Largus. Seryoga, stop standing there, catch up with the idiot, and put your guns down. Sergei, one of the young men, threw a gun on a belt behind his back and ran into the forest. The old man looks at me and the pistol, and he himself puts his pump-action shotgun behind his back. Put the gun down, too. Grandfather turned to Petrovich. Take your hand out of your bosom. Are you holding on to my dick? I know you have one gun for the whole company. Well, we just screwed up. Big and clear. You'll stay under the barrel for now, it's okay. Who are you? I have the same questions for you. Who are you and where are you going? Petrovich came out from behind the truck. We are from Omsk. We are going to Svetli. Are you from the hunting farm? The grandfather nodded his head and extended his hand. Dmitri Nikolaevich, caretaker of the hunting lodge. There is no hunting farm now, uncle. There is a tourist center there now, and that's it. Petrovich extended his hand. Who the hell knows? I don't know. I know it happened once. Well, I'm telling you, a tourist center and that's it. This is my son, Yegor, and the one who ran after your pisser is Seryoga. Petrovich laughed, literally guffawed, starting to cough and laugh again, wincing. Hey, Petrovich, what's wrong? Grandfather smiled. He probably almost pissed himself too. I look at Petrovich, who was literally choking with laughter, and I start to laugh myself, and I can't stop. Only later did I realize that this was a typical reaction of the body to prolonged stress. Yegorka, come on, give me the flask or I'll faint. These words literally make me fall to my knees, laughing, gasping for air, and simultaneously realizing my helplessness at that moment. Okay, stop laughing. Here, have some stress reliever. He looks at the car window, wiping it with his sleeve. And you, eat up, boys. What are you so wary about, goldfinches? Haven't you seen fools? The boys sat next to their mother and cried. Petrovich reached for the flask and took a good sip. He almost choked. Alcohol? Dmitri Nikolaevich made an obsequious face and nodded his head. The purest rectified spirit. All. Petrovich stopped laughing, stroked his stomach, and handed the flask to me. Well, how did it go? Excellent. Listen, Nikolaik, my name is Petrovich. This fool is Valentin. We are making our way from Omsk to Svetli. I have a colleague there. I see. What's going on in Omsk? Ass. I see. We heard something. The tourist center has all left. Only we and some personnel remained. The place is hopeless for defense, although remote. Too many people know. Petrovich nodded, and then I, Petrovich, and Nikolaik looked towards the forest. Sergei was returning and pushing the gun at M in front of me, Uncle Vanya, who presented a pitiful sight. His pants were torn at the knee, his cheek was scratched, there was a bruise under his eye. I even whistled. Seryoga was angrily telling Ivan something, reproaching him and pushing him forward. When Ivan was close, he looked at me, then at Petrovich, who was simply shaking his head reproachfully, and at Nikolaik, who was simply silent. Then Ivan could not stand it. He simply fell to his knees and began to sob loudly like a beluga, rolling on the ground. Listen, Nikolaik, maybe he should also have some from the flask? Grandfather looks at me and his eyes widen. Yeah, right. Okay, I have my own vodka. I knock on the glass and the car opens from the inside. I reach for my bag. After 100 grams, Uncle Vanya comes to his senses a little. Nikolaik looks at us, at me and at Petrovich. Listen, guys, I think there's a lot of running around in Svetli right now, and it's not clear what kind. You understand this idiot? He pokes his finger into the chest of the tearful Ivan, who is leaning his back against the car, and he cringes from the poke in the chest. He's no help to you. Again, a woman and 2 kids. I am silent. Petrovich, too. Well, that's what I'm getting at. We have a village not far from here. A big house. The sons have their own houses. We'll set up some defense there with fellow villagers. There are guns in every house, a lot of relatives. You can get to Svetli on foot. Ah, that's what it's all about. I look at Petrovich, waiting for him to say something. Somehow I recognized his right to be a leader. Petrovich simply nods his head and tells me, take the groceries in the bag. Nikolaik nods approvingly, and I walk to the car. I pick up the open bag. The children are covered with my blanket. The woman understands everything and looks at me questioningly, and I smile and wave my hand, mouthing the words, present. The bag on my shoulder? Yeah, and the water too. I leave it there too, although, Nikolaik, do you have a bottle? I have water in bags. What? Nikolaik approaches the car and looks at the bubble of the bag, inflated with water. Yeah? What you can't see. A real wineskin. Hey, Seryoga, give them your flask. Seeing his son's doubts, Nikolai waved. Yes, give it back, give it back. You'll get a new one at the tourist center. We'll have to make a couple more trips there. Petrovich stood nearby. Are you dragging something from there? Sergei, gap-toothed and dark-skinned, handed me a flask. Mostly food, some belongings. They took the generator, why not? It will come in handy. Okay, go ahead and loot. That's it, guys. Take the civilians, keep an eye on them there. We'll have a chance to visit. That's it. We're leaving. Petrovich pats me on the shoulder and we walk along the dirt road to the federal highway, and then we'll figure out where and how to move. For some reason it seemed to me that it would be better to go through the forest. The closer we got to the federal highway, the louder the noise and rumble rushing along the road grew. Is there a Boeing flying there? Petrovich stopped. It doesn't look like it. And, at that moment, in the gap in the trees surrounding the dirt road on the sides, I saw a tank rushing along the asphalt road, and behind it, another one, and another, and another. Petrovich shouted, "Take cover!" And he rushed to the side, pulling me by the hand. We both lay down. Petrovich counted barely audibly, 1, 2, 3, 25. The tanks were followed by armored personnel carriers with soldiers sitting on them. I could clearly see them, their weapons, and their eyes. Suddenly, one of the soldiers raised his head, and through the slit in his balaclava, I saw his eyes. Our gazes met for a moment, and the armored personnel carrier with the soldiers on its armor sped on. Having waited until the end of the column, we stand up. Is this from Svetli? There isn't that much equipment in Svetli. I doubt it. I think the district was put on alert. Petrovich shook himself off. Okay, let's go. We need to get there by evening. While you dozed off in the car, I called Svetli. They're waiting. Was I dozing? I didn't even notice. Yes, it was. It's okay. Everything's fine. I want to smoke. Like a bear to wrestle. I should have asked the men. Okay, screw it. I take out my phone, 2% charge and not a single message. The connection was hanging by one stick. Didn't you ask about Hamadrias? No. Once we get to the territory, you'll find out yourself. Let's move.